Okay, I'm recording the last recording that I said that I was going to do. I was going to do that yesterday. Couldn't get to it. Doing it today before the midterm or the final exam. So I'm just starting with this last demo that I did on Monday. And what I want to do, I've already got the server started. I've got the page up here in the browser, and I've got the console open so that I can see what's going on and everything. Um, and I want to bring some functionality into this. And this is the last thing that I'm going to show you guys so that you can bring some of this into your own projects. Although, of course, none of this is going to be on the exam. But if you've got functionality, if you want to have like firing events and getting input from the users and so on, then you need to use this methods here. And this is a mistake. Methods is, I was just doing it the same as data and mounted, but this is not right. This is not a method itself. It is instead just an object here. So do methods colon and then the curly braces there for the object literal. And then we can put our functions inside of here. And then we can have them fire when we get user input or when the user clicks on something or when the page loads or whatever it is that we want. So I'm going to do an easy one first. I just want to make it so that when the user taps on any of these cards, they get taken to the actual page of the whole article, right? This is just kind of an abstract of the article. And I had a link in here. I'm going to make the whole thing clickable now instead. So I'm going to do a function in here called launch article. And this is going to take an argument. And it's going to be a very simple little piece of JavaScript here. It's just going to be window.open. Open URL so that whatever gets typed in here as an argument, that page will open. Okay, so it's just a simple function here. It's contained within the methods object, and now I'm going to make, let's see, so it's the articles here that I want to make clickable. So I'm going to put an event in here, just a click event. And it's going to be, remember you could do like v on equals click and so on, but you can just do @click. That's the easy way to do it. @click equals, and then we tell it what function we want. It's got to be one of the functions that's here inside methods, but other than that, it's easy peasy. So I'll just do launch, what do you call it, launch article. And again, I mean, this is looping through the articles object, so I know that there are some properties in there that I can take advantage of, just like URL to image and article.title and so on. And we're just going to be article.url. And that's it. So the article, the URL property of whatever article is being iterated through, when we click on this article element, it will open up the complete article. Let's go ahead and save it here and try it over here in the browser. I'm going to refresh, and now when I click on this, it opens up in a new window. No need to create anchor elements or anything. It's just all contained within this simple little function here. So that's cool. Let's make another one. So I want to make it so that instead of just the user getting whatever, like I decided on sports, like whatever piece or whatever kind of article headlines I want them to, they want to be able to type in their own. So it's going to involve taking the fetch call out of mounted and putting it into another function in here. So the comma, and then I'm going to make another one here, and let's see, what do I call this one? I'm going to call this fetch news. And then I'm going to take this whole fetch call here, the whole thing, I'm going to exit, and I'm going to put it inside fetch news. So now, indent that again. Now this fetch call won't happen until the fetch news function gets called, right? So I go over here and all those articles are disappeared here. And by the way, in order to make this work, I'm going to take this query and empty it again. So this is going to get filled with the user input based off of a submit event in a form that we'll create. So we need to do something else here. We need to, since the query is now emptied, we need to tell it what we want the query to be. So this dot query equals, and then I'm just going to leave this blank for the moment. because we need to figure, like if I just type this stuff in now, like it's not, I don't think it's going to make any sense to you. Let's go ahead and make the form here. So up above the articles here, let's go ahead and make a form element. And we have to do a prevent default. You guys may or may not recall in JavaScript that you do like an e.prevent default if you don't want the default action from occurring. So for instance, you have a hyperlink and you want to make it so that when the user taps on it, it doesn't actually go to like the href, it does something else instead. And another one is preventing a form from submitting in the way that forms in HTML want to submit, which is through HTTP. So I'm just going to do @submit.prevent. So that prevents the default action from taking place. And then I'm also going to put in the fetch news method here. But I don't need to do the parentheses or anything. Okay, so let's make a couple of quick forms. This is going to be, input type equals search. Okay, so it's going to make a search field there. And let's see if this is already showing up in the browser. No, it doesn't like it. Let's see. Well, I'll fix this later. Let's go ahead and finish making the form. But something's going wrong up. Oh, probably because I have this empty. You guys know how touchy view is. So input type equals search. And then I'm going to put an attribute on here called ref, for reference. Reference or ref equals. And then search headlines. This is a new identifier that we're coming up with, and we'll use it in just a couple moments. And we're also going to do an autofocus. So I can't test this right now in the browser because other things are going wrong up here, but when we open this up in the browser and things are working, you'll see that when the page loads, the cursor will automatically appear into the search field. You really want to help people do that. Help out your users by using autofocus where you want them to be performing an action like right in this one search field at the beginning. Well, you'll see. Autofocus is important for user interface or user experience. And then, and it's also important for accessibility too. We'll make a button. Now when you put a button element inside of a form, clicking on it automatically makes the form try to submit, and that's why we have to prevent that action up here. Do the button, and then I'll start out with search headlines. I might want to shorten that at some point. But save that, and let me just comment out, where is it? This guy right here. And let's see if it's still going to be griping at me. No, so this is now, I've got the search field and I've got the button here, and notice how little CSS, like I've hardly done any CSS at all. It's the skeleton plus the framework of Vite is doing all this heavy lifting for us. So anyway, when the page loads, you can see that the cursor is now clicking. Let me go ahead and click out of it, and I'll refresh the page, and there it goes. It gets put in there again. So that's the autofocus thing. So right now, search headlines isn't going to do anything except that it will not actually submit because we're told not to. Okay, so let's do this .query, and I'm going to try to get both of these into the screen at the same time if I can. This .query equals, and this is where we're going to make use of this ref attribute down here. So it's going to be this .@refs, and that is what if we give this the same name here. So @refs dot and then search headlines. So basically, refs is a way that your function can reference, elements within the HTML. Use this for everything else in here. In fact, we're using this here as well. But @refs, if you need to be able to grab something from one of the elements here, use @refs with this property name, and then give it ref equals search headlines, they match up here. That's what we're looking for. And then we want the value that's been typed into this. This part's just plain old JavaScript. Okay, so this .query, and since I'm not using semicolons, there we go, equals this @refs search headlines to match this guy down here, .value to get the value of that element, input element. So let me go ahead and try this now. I'm going to save this, and I'm expecting that this is going to work now. And it's still not liking it. Let's see. Let's see if I can find a particular error that it's giving me. and it's not. It's just showing me a little arrow to say it's somewhere around here. And let me see, what am I missing? Fetch news, methods. I don't know what's going wrong here. Let me go ahead and pause the recording. I'll get it figured out, and I will resume the recording in a moment. Okay, I think I've got it figured out here. I think it's just a simple syntax error. I was using @refs when it should actually be $refs. So apologies for that. That ought to fix it. And there we go. The error's gone away. So now the user is presented with this. Let me refresh again. Yeah, there goes the autofocus. Sometimes it fails, but usually it should work. And now the user gets to type in whatever they want here and see the headlines that they want to see. So like, I'm not interested in sports. I want headlines on health. Okay, so enter, and then I get articles on health. Okay, well, some of those don't seem exactly relevant, but let's go ahead and let's try something else. Let's try weather. Okay, let's see weather headlines. And there we go. And now I want to see technology headlines. And there we go. So now I've got an app that actually works for users, right? Instead of just spitting something out for them, it's getting some kind of input. Now this is just like the lowest level of interactivity on an app that you could imagine. It's barely enough to call this an app as opposed to just a web page, but it is something. So that's what I'm hoping you guys can get into your own project. Either something like this, or if you have a different idea, then go in a different direction. But it's going to involve something like this, where you're grabbing not content, but input from the user in some way, and then letting a method in here, a function, depend on that by using the dollar. And I'm sorry about that, the @ I had the @ on my brain from the @submit, but it's dollar. Find some way to tie those guys together like this. So if you have any questions about how to get this into your own project, then let me know, and we can, I don't know, we can set up an office hour or something. Okay,